Hello there, superstars. His name is Aaron, and his hair is longer than yours.
His name's Tommy, and he's now available to own on VHS and DVD.
And you are listening to the Super Pod Saga. Hello, welcome back, welcome superstars, welcome here. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening to our wonderful voices. This is the Super Pod Saga with Aaron and Tommy and guest, who we'll get to later. If you are a first-time listener, welcome. Thank you for listening. This is the podcast where Aaron and me and a guest bring a different topic to the table every week related to video games, and we talk about it until there's nothing left to talk about, and then we'll never bring it up again because we're going to exhaust every single video game topic.
Yeah, that's right. Don't even try to ask us about it, because we'll be all passive-aggressive about it. Be like, I don't know.
We're very good at being passive-aggressive.
Yeah, we are.
We're not alone today in being passive-aggressive. We've got a special guest with us, and his name is Chris Copeland from Retro Hangover Podcast. Hi, Chris.
Hey, how's it going? Happy to be here. How are you? I can't even talk. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we can't talk either. We're doing good, though.
I'm among good company then.
Yes. It's going to be mumbling and stumbling for 3 hours.
Hell yeah.
Sweet. That's what I do best.
Thank you for being here. I'm excited to talk to you about video game related things. Why don't you tell the listeners at home who are you? What podcast do you do, and what video games do you like?
Well, I'm Chris Copeland, as you heard. I am from the Retro Hangover Podcast. We are a retro video game review podcast where we typically take a game and then we talk about our personal experiences, the game story, the gameplay, the music, the graphics, and then we decide whether or not the game holds up today. And we only talk about games that are at least 10 years or older. That's our benchmark. And it's becoming quite depressing because
yes,
as we get older, I started looking at some of the games we're looking to do next year, and some of the games that came up, like what was it? I looked up Batman Arkham Asylum.
Oh
and
my
realized
gosh!
that game turned 15
Jesus.
next year.
No.
Yeah.
No. That's what I was thinking. I was like, 10 years. That's totally fair, but also, ouch.
Exactly. And we've been doing older games recently, but yeah, that's us. It's me and my partner Shane, and we just talk about these old games and have a good time with it.
That's fun. I like that you describe if it holds up or not, because that is a major factor, because everyone has those rose-tinted glasses about their favorite games, but actually being like, does this still hold up years later? That's an important question.
It is, because like a lot of people go back and they're like, oh yeah, like I love game X. I love like Final Fantasy 8, and then they play it today and they're like, oh, I'm still gonna say I love it, because if I don't, I'm gonna look like an asshole.
Yeah.
But they really don't. I mean, no one ever really did like Final Fantasy 8, but that's a different topic for a different time.
That's me with Pokemon Yellow right now. I found a Game Boy Pocket at a store a few weeks ago, and so I threw my copy of Pokemon Yellow in there, and I'm like, "Ooh, boy, this is much tougher than the current Pokemon games." Wowzers!
I mean, it was easy when we were kids, though, right?
Yeah, yeah, because we had all the time in the world to just grind forever.
Oh, of course.
Now I'm an adult with bills to pay. I don't have time to grind.
We need to make a game that you can pay your bills, and then everything would just, come together.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless it's an NFT game, then it can go fuck
Oh,
itself.
yeah. No, thank you.
That's what I was going to say. Son of a bitch.
Say it anyways.
I mean, I don't know one in particular. I was just going to say, yeah, unless it's a game where it's all about NFTs or like crypto mining, and then bam, you've made like, what, $2? Or
Good one, Aaron.
negative?
Very original joke. Love it.
But you spent 200, but you end up with 2. But you have a nice JPEG other people can deal.
JPEG. It'll make a great thumbnail sometime.
Yeah.
Someday.
I'm so happy I haven't met anyone in real life who's into NFTs. Everyone I know in real life just jokes about it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I remember. I work in the Navy, and I came to a new command, and we were out to lunch like in the first year. And these people are really cool, by the way. I don't mean to like look down on them, but I was sitting there, and they're like, "You're into games?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I like games." Hey, if you go on to your mobile phone and download this video game, it's pretty cool. I'm like, "Oh, what's it about?" And they're like, "Oh, it's an NFT game." I'm like, "Oh, no."
You guys,
I am not
no.
playing it. It's like you could get in the ground level now, man, and start making some cash. I'm like, no, this is you have fun with that. That's not the kind of game I'm going to be playing.
Another day, another nickel.
Of course. And this was before everything crashed, and as soon as the NFTs crashed, I would give them constant reminders like, "Hey, how's your NFT? How's your NFT game going? How you doing? How's the market looking? Oh, bro, it looks like crap." I'm like, "Oh, never could have seen that coming." So
Shoot.
sorry.
That's unfortunate.
So sorry.
How are those Doge coins, you bitch?
I think Doge is actually doing pretty well right now. I don't
Oh
know.
shit.
Yeah, Aaron. Gosh.
I take that back. Fuck.
I think it's the new logo of Twitter.
Yeah, that's right. That did happen. Oh man,
Okay.
Twitter. Ooh. Speaking of things that are failing, our topic for today is the best features of failed game consoles. I think this will be fun because Aaron and I try to keep a positive focus on video games because we like video games and the joy that they bring our lives, and the community around video games can get unnecessarily negative at times, so we just want to kind of counter that. But at the same time, it's worth it to talk about failed consoles. So I want to talk about the best parts of failed consoles and see where we go with that. Does that sound good to everyone? Does that sound fun?
Yep.
It does.
Yes.
I'm putting my seatbelt on right now.
Good. Everyone put their seatbelts on. Get your helmets on. This is going to be a ride. So I guess since this is my topic, I'll start. And
Fine.
I'm going to say the initial... We could say a lot of things about this console, but I just want to start with the initial graphics of the Dreamcast. Because when it released a couple of years before... It was a year or two before everything else, I want to say. And it just looked nuts. Those graphics were nuts. Like that orca whale the killer whale jumping over Sonic. I was like, this is the best graphics will ever look.
Ever.
And I still maintain that. I just, it's because like now when you look back at the Dreamcast, you're like, oh yeah, that's a old game graphics. But back then it was like a cut beyond. Do you remember seeing the Dreamcast graphics for the first time?
I myself, I didn't have a lot of experience with the Dreamcast growing up because everybody, literally everybody else just had a PlayStation 2, Xbox, or GameCube. But when I did come across one, first I was like, "What the fuck is this controller?" and then I played Sonic Adventure and fell in love with the Chow Garden. And that was it.
Of course,
they did look great back then, though.
I got a Dreamcast day one, so I am with you. The graphics were spectacular. Yeah. First playing that game out of the box, not something you get much nowadays in terms of laws of diminishing returns. Ever since I would say probably the HD generation, ever since Gears of War, you're not going to get that again. But Dreamcast was one of those times that just the jaw dropped. You say Sonic Adventure, that's really apt because it's so bright and colorful. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I can think of is Soul Calibur and how good that looked as a fighting game. Yeah, because it blew Tekken 3 out of the water, which was the gold standard up until that point.
Yep.
And the Dreamcast was that was really like the start of where our console ports of arcade games became either like they were nearly identical to arcade ports or arcade games, or they were like better. Yeah.
I only played a Dreamcast once, and we played Madden, and I was like, "Wow, look at these football graphics. These football men look so real."
Perfect. Football men. There's a lot of other cool shit that the Dreamcast did that, like, I mean, everybody said it like a million times before. The Dreamcast was ahead of its time, but yeah, because it had the built-in modem, so as long as you had internet, you could just pop it right into the fucking back of the console. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just pop it in, bam. You can play online. You can use the web browser to like check your emails or some shit. See if your Aunt Ida sent you more like puppy videos or some shit.
Did either of you use it online?
No.
I've used the web browser a couple times, but that's it.
Yeah. I actually, if you guys remember a game called Choo Choo Rocket.
Yes.
Yep.
So that was the first game I remember playing on a console online.
Nice.
So that came with online functionality, and I was huge into Phantasy Star Online for the Dreamcast too.
Ooh.
Hell yeah! Did you have the keyboard for it?
Oh, absolutely.
Dang, you were so cool.
Hell yeah!
Typing of the Dead.
Typing of the Dead.
I want to play that so bad, dude. Damn.
You can get on Steam, I think.
I think you can.
Yeah.
You can play it right now, Aaron. Just leave the podcast, go play it, come back, tell us how it is.
Okay. Okay, I will. Oh yeah, and then the VMUs, dude. That shit is just so cool. Just the little Tamagotchi. Yeah.
The wildest idea.
Like the VMUs. This is almost turning into a Dreamcast episode. I mean, it is a failed console with a lot of cool features, but
yeah.
The VMU, like, it looked cool and it appears cool, and like you look at the best thing about the VMU actually was looking at the screen if a developer knew what they were doing. And seeing like little status updates, or if it had something that enhanced gameplay, like in Resident Evil, you would have your health meter that would be on there.
Oh,
in Code Veronica.
Cool.
Yeah, but like in terms of pulling it out and playing with it on the go, those things would only last like a total of maybe an hour.
Ouch.
And then they die, and then you'd have to replace it with 2 CR2032 batteries in order for it to work again. Yeah. And they die quick, and you can tell when they're dead, because when you turn on your Dreamcast, you get an annoying beep every single time you boot it up.
So bizarre. I love it. I love it. Yes. I was trying to think, because you said the Dreamcast had a plug-in for an internet cable. Did the Wii U have that on launch? Because the Switch didn't and the Wii didn't. So I'm trying to think if any Nintendo console even has.
I think the Wii U does.
Okay, so they did it once.
Right in front of me right now. I can tell you in a second.
That's how ahead of their time they were, though.
I don't feel an Ethernet port. I don't want to turn it around.
Oh, that's whack.
Totally whack.
And the Dreamcast. I don't think it had like a VGA connection on the back, but you could convert it to VGA for that sweet 480p, which at the time was mind blowing because like this was
so good.
Yeah, it's just nowhere near as good as 1080p or fucking 4K or whatever. But yeah, back then that was awesome.
Absolutely. What about you, Mr. Aaron? What is your favorite feature of a failed console?
I'm gonna go with the NeoGeo Pocket Color because I dig that thing so much. It's got the best design of any handheld ever.
Ooh.
And I'll fight anyone to the death to defend that claim. But one of the coolest things is that as a handheld, it had that sweet little analog stick, the little clicky stick that.
Oh, you could even click it in.
No, I just like it.
You fool.
Instead of being like loosey goosey like a normal analog stick, it kind of like clicked around and shit.
Gotcha.
But, it was really good for those. It was one of the few handhelds that had a lot of like actually good fighting games. Like there was a lot of King of Fighters and all that shit. And yeah, it played those really, really well. And then there was the you could kind of going into the Dreamcast thing. You connect to the Dreamcast with certain games and do different shit. I think there was like SNK versus Capcom, I believe.
Yes.
And you could get and you can get like different little bonuses and shit on there. And oh my god, and the battery. I had to look it up to be sure before this episode, and it can last up to like maybe 40 hours. I want to say.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. Because I was gonna say, just looking at images, the colors look really, really bright and they pop out.
Oh, and there's no region lock, so you could import games from Japan and play them no problem. No goofing around.
Oh, the best one is to go for the PAL copies, because the PAL copies are usually a little bit cheaper.
Oh yeah. It's just it sucks that I guess it probably did fail mostly because of Pokemon and everybody being like, oh hey, like if I gotta get in a handheld, I'm gonna get a Nintendo because Zelda and shit. But the NeoGeo Pocket Color, like it had a lot of awesome games on it, and it's just so cool, so sweet,
so cool. I've never played one. I can't contribute. I couldn't name a single game for the NeoGeo Pocket. I'm sorry.
NeoGeo Pocket Color, another console I got at launch because it was dirt cheap.
Nice.
And I have one right now. I have a complete in-box copy of one.
Ooh.
NeoGeo Pocket Color. I have a couple games. I have a sealed Pac-Man because I don't see a reason to open it up because it's Pac-Man.
It's Pac-Man, yeah.
Pac-Man. I can play Pac-Man anywhere. But yeah, SNK versus Capcom, Match of the Millennium. is a fantastic fighting game. I think it's one of the best versus fighting games to come out, and it combines features. You can have a gameplay style of 1v1, the tag fighting that you got, swapping between fighters, and also the King of Fighters style, 3v3, and all of that's in there. And as was said, you could connect it to a Dreamcast, and you can unlock characters both, I think, in Capcom versus SNK for the Dreamcast and SNK versus Capcom on your NeoGeo Pocket Color through points and stuff that you collect. So, I mean, the NeoGeo Pocket Color was doing some cool things. You could get your horoscope read on it when a game wasn't in there. Yeah, it was cool. Had a live clock, everything like that, a calendar, just really cool stuff. I understand why it died, because the Game Boy Advance came out shortly afterwards. And if you compare the way a Game Boy Advance looks to a NeoGeo Pocket Color, I mean, and the Game Boy Advance too was pretty cheap. So when you compare the graphics to each other, especially with the backing, and that NeoGeo was essentially, financially dead at that point, it's pretty easy to figure out why people didn't really flock to it, despite the fact that you would see them in like, blister packages, where you have a NeoGeo Pocket Color and 6 games. It made it look like a Tiger Electronics toy, which just blows my mind. And those 6 games, like if you knew nothing about video games, you would think like this was one of those, like nowadays where you see those handheld electronics and say, "Oh, it comes with Contra." You're like, "Oh, this is just some cheesy plastic shit." That's essentially how SNK marketed the NeoGeo Pocket Color in the United States. And like these would be big games too, like Sonic Pocket Adventure, King of Fighters R2, Samurai Showdown Pocket. Like they'd be all there. It's just like, this looks cheap as fuck. And I understood like people would not buy this thing.
Man, that sucks ass. Because those games were just, I struggle to think of even like a bad game for the system. Because no, never mind. I thought I had one, but no, they're all good. Even like the the Pocket Golf game. There was Dark Arms. All the ones that they ported to Switch. Like those are all so good. It's good. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, your turn, Chris.
Ooh, going for the favorite one. I guess I'm going to say the Sega Saturn. And
yes,
one of the best features about the Sega Saturn, especially from that era, because I'm not too much into fighting games now, but back then I was, is that 4 megabyte expansion cart that allowed you to play almost arcade perfect games in the mid-90s. And anyone who is a big fan of X-Men versus Street Fighter knows exactly what I am talking about, because that is the only version of that game that was released during that era where you could at home play it the way that it was intended to play by swapping out your characters. Same with Marvel's Superheroes versus Street Fighter. And what the Saturn could do for 2D games, especially with the 4 megabyte expansion slot, was just utterly incredible. Not to mention that you could play online with the NetLink in the back cartridge slot. Had internal system memory, which is something Sega was doing since the Sega CD, as you were getting in most CD consoles, but like PlayStation didn't do that. The Nintendo 64 did it on the cart, but it also required a memory card. You could pretty much play every game on your Saturn without a memory card. It did have a memory card, of course, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of features that were going on with the Saturn, and you bring it up to date, and there's still Saturn haters to this day, which I don't understand. Because it is such a fun little console. And all you got to do, and it's not hard, especially if you know how to mod your system, which admittedly is a little bit expensive, depending on which route you're going to go. But you can, if you go to the import market, like that system is just mind-blowingly incredible, especially if you love your shmups. And with new fan translations coming out seemingly monthly, there's no reason to hate on that system. Like, you owe it to yourself to go check it out.
I can't understand why people would hate it, because Sega is kind of weird with how they marketed things, but yeah, the Saturn had, I would say, probably the best 2D processing of that era for sure, because like then the PlayStation was pretty fucking wiggly, and then the N64 was super muddy. But yeah, one of my favorite things about that system was the audio visualizer for when you had a CD popped in. Because normally the main menu was like a first person view of like the inside of this spaceship, and then there's like a certain control or a thing you could click on just on the audio visualizer in the CD player menu, and you would see the spaceship from like a I guess like a third person view or whatever, just zooming around the screen and doing like loop de loops and shit. And that's so cool, dude. Because like the PlayStation one, I don't think it had a visualizer on it, but just the fact that the Saturn had that one little cool fucking thing just baked into the system is just so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had known about the Saturn. It completely missed me and my whatever age I was. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know it existed until after it would already stopped being in production. Sega just completely missed marketing to me specifically, I guess.
That one, it sold a lot less than the N64, didn't it? I'm pretty sure it did. In the US, anyway.
In the US, yeah, I mean, total, it sold a lot less, too. But actually, in Japan, they sold more Saturns than N64s.
Oh, wow.
Holy shit.
That's surprising. I did not know that. I'm trying to think of a transition, but I can't. So pretend I'm saying cool transition.
Cool transition.
Actually, I'm glad we got some of these out of the way because like I had one that I was like, this is people can see this coming, and then I've got a couple that are way out of left field. So buckle up, listeners. I want to talk about.
Wait. We'll do the Big Bang Theory transition where we just go like whoosh. It'll add like the atom and then the screen whooshes, and we're Big Bang Theory now.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll take
okay,
your
whoosh.
Whoosh.
Go.
I want to talk about the image quality and input delay of the Stadia, Google Stadia.
Oh.
Because Google Stadia definitely failed. It doesn't exist anymore. But
yes,
when it comes to cloud gaming, I'm a big cloud gaming guy. I try them all, and the image quality and input delay of Stadia was like the tops of the ones that I tried. If you're a person who, there are many out there who hasn't experienced cloud gaming, it's not the best at times. Like Sony's PlayStation Now for a long time only displayed at 720p for all their games, which was
wild.
That was muddy. I played all of Red Dead Redemption through that though, and that was not fun. The delay was real bad. It just doesn't feel good. And then GeForce Now is really good. I enjoy that, but the few times that I actually tried Google Stadia, I was like, holy cow, it just feels like I'm playing this live on my PC. And that's a real technological achievement. I was like, dang, this is like incredible technology. This could be it. And then they decided to make people purchase the games on Stadia. You couldn't just bring your own games, and it was like, why would anyone buy that? And it failed or whatever. But I have to commend them for the having the technology, making it work. Hopefully someone can come up with a better monetization strategy. And I also want to give them props for refunding everyone 100% for everything they purchased, because they did not have to do that.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Yep. I had a friend who actually bought the controller and everything, and he got his refund for the controller, for all the games he had, everything.
Isn't the controller like really good too? To use on other things.
Yeah, I've heard it is. Yeah.
I don't like that it has like the PlayStation stick arrangement where the two sticks are right there, but other than that, yeah, it's I've heard nothing but good things about the controller. Like it's like as sturdy as a Switch Pro controller. Like it doesn't feel light or cheap, but yeah, it's a pretty slick little controller.
There's a pretty slick little technology they had. It's just a real shame that they decided to try and get a ridiculous amount of money out of it.
I think that's going to be the future, though.
I agree.
That's where games are headed. I mean, you even look at Game Pass. Sony's already doing it, but essentially this could become Game Pass within the next 5-10 years too, where they just capitalize on that technology with fewer and fewer people buying actual physical games, with the technology to be able to run Game Pass and other various Sony methods of delivery through your smart TV. That's where we're headed.
Absolutely.
That's the future of gaming.
That's certainly where Microsoft is going to bring us. They have been set on this for a while.
That's what I was going to say too. That I forgot if it was like a leak or if it was an actual like confirmed thing, but like apparently Microsoft's new console is just going to be basically like a Chromecast kind of thing, like just a stick that you pop into your smart TV and then bam, it's the Xbox UI or some shit, and then Game Pass and all that stuff right from your TV. But like that'd be kind of cool. Like you don't have to worry about any more fucking. Well, I guess it probably wouldn't connect to like a USB. It'd be HDMI, but yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Just right into your TV.
Yeah, I
An
played
app
it
on your TV, nothing plugging in. Your TV is Bluetooth compatible.
Yeah, they were working on an app like that, or on a stick like that, and then they're like, wait, we can just put an app on the TV. Let's just do that.
Oh,
And,
that does it too.
yeah.
When you think about it too, I mean, like the specifications of your TV will only matter so much. Because if everything's streaming, technically you're just getting that image coming from a server somewhere else.
This guy gets it. This guy gets it.
So you never have to worry about upgrading your software ever. I mean,
that's
hardware,
actually cool. Yeah, that is kind of cool. Yeah,
I played Destiny 2 a bunch on GeForce Now, and just never having to download the game or updates or anything, just it being ready to go in a second is awesome.
I mean, it sucks because I like downloading things. I like having things and not having to rely on internet. That's the downfall. But I mean, it's where things are headed.
Yeah, god damn, that is kind of cool. I don't have a whole lot of cloud gaming experience underneath my belt, but I'd be willing to give it a shot. Like, me a little test run. And fuck, I was gonna ask earlier too. So what was the deal with Stadia's games? Like, you didn't actually buy them, or like, how did that work?
So there's a bunch of different strategies. Like Xbox has it as a part of their Game Pass Ultimate, so you can play most games on Game Pass on the cloud. Like, you don't have to purchase those games. And so everyone thought Stadia was going to do like a subscription thing where you pay however much and you can play games, or like GeForce Now, it streams games from, like, if you own them on Steam, on Epic, on the Ubisoft store, you can stream them through GeForce Now. And then Stadia was like, you have to purchase the games full price. They're strictly Stadia games. Like, it's Red Dead Redemption on Stadia, so you have to purchase the Stadia version of Red Dead Redemption. And it was
that's whack.
Yeah. And then if you wanted it at the highest quality, you also had to purchase their subscription plan.
Oh, God,
that is bullshit.
Yeah, it was full price games plus a subscription. They took the absolute worst route you could possibly take.
You know, it's that indie company Google that's really struggling. You know, get its product to the consumer.
Jesus Christ.
Aaron, you bring up your next one. I gotta go. Our dogs are being loud. I'm gonna go get them to stop being loud.
That's fine. Speaking of Jesus Christ himself, how about the Sega Nomad? Because that thing was just nuts. It's like a handheld Sega Genesis. Holy shit. It was a big fucking huge chunky boy, but it was compatible with any Sega Genesis game. And they thought the little screen looked totally fine. And I mean, of course, it took like 80 million, 100,000 batteries, but yeah, the console itself looked just fine. It felt just fine, and it played just fine, and that's cool.
Big boy, just like that upgrade from the Game Gear, which was a consoleized version of the Master System, except you couldn't put your Master System games in there naturally. I mean, they have converters, but yeah, that was the good thing about the Nomad. It was, because the Sega Genesis was a success. It was the only way that most people thought that you could have a console on the go, because in many people's mind it was the first one. It wasn't, and that's going to be what I'm going to be talking about after we get through this one. But the Nomad was a kind of a misplaced thing, misplaced console in history, if you even really want to call it a console, because really good idea, but people were ready to move on to the next great experience. And the Nomad didn't provide that. I mean, people had already played Sonic. You weren't coming out with new games for the system anymore because they're all there. So you would really have to be like, man, I want to play my Sega games on the go. And Game Boy Color wasn't out yet. Pokemon wasn't out yet. So the market was right for it. I think people weren't really into portable gaming, though. Not that I could remember. But really sad.
That thing came out in 95. Holy cow.
Dang.
The Saturn came out pretty close to that, didn't it?
It came out. It was like out a few months before that.
Oh yeah, the Saturn came out also 95.
Yeah, the 32X was already dead.
Man, and the Nomad had an AV output as well too, so you connect it to your TV, which was that's basically like the Switch before the Switch. Like, that's pretty fucking sweet. Well, yeah. What was your next one, Chris?
Chris, it's your turn.
All right. So, speaking of taking your console on the go, I'm going to be talking about the TurboExpress, also known as the PC Engine GT, which was released 5 years before the Nomad, and it was in Japan. It was released on December 1st, 1990, same time in North America, and it looks like a Game Boy, but it's a fully backlit color screen, and it can play all of your HuCard PC Engine. Well, it's region locked, but all your TurboGrafx HuCard games. And you can play them on the go. It has the full controller, has the turbo switches, has everything. And yeah, it takes a ton of batteries and it doesn't last long. But just being able to take your home console experience on the go in 1990, it was incredible. It was incredible. I got one a little bit later because I discovered the TurboGrafx 16 a little bit later. But like when I got mine, parents got it for me, I think for my birthday. And it came with this a converter, and it came with Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition. So I was able to play a full no compromise version. I mean, there's only 2 buttons. It wasn't able to get like a 6-button controller on there, but full no compromise version of Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition on the go in the mid 90s.
That's insane. I've never seen this in my life.
Yeah, it's a really cool system. Just like the Game Gear too, it had a TV adapter, so you could plug it into your TurboGrafx, your TurboExpress, and you could watch, your standard network television on the go. You can't do that anymore, of course, because we've changed the way that we, put out radio waves for standard television. But yeah, you could totally do that back then.
What?
And incredible system. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now. I had that little adapter for like a TV tuner. Yeah, that's insane. You'd play games or watch like The Simpsons or some shit. That's awesome.
Does this thing take 6 batteries?
Yeah, just like a Nomad.
Holy cow.
That's cool. Those definitely were ahead of their time. That's awesome that those companies actually thought like that. Like, hey, what if people don't want to play it on this tiny screen? What if they want to play it on their TV? And then, yeah.
Why did this guy fail?
Why did it fail? Well, first of all, I don't know if it failed in Japan or not. That I'm not sure. But I can tell you it failed here in North America because the TurboGrafx 16 failed in North America.
Oh,
so if the TurboGrafx 16 failed, there's no way that its portable version that was probably like $300 competing against the Game Boy, which was $90 and had Tetris. Like, that's not going to be successful. I think the games for TurboGrafx 16 were also full price games. They were advertised as a 16-bit system. So they're going to be $40, $50, whereas the Game Boy is like $25 for a game. So Nintendo had the market cornered in terms of affordability. I don't know what the market was like back then. I think like the economy, I don't know what it was like. I don't even want to get into that.
Yeah.
But
what about the political? What was the political situation like?
Exactly. But these are kind of, when you're thinking about how consoles are and why people are buying shit, like why aren't they buying the $300 fully colorized console experience against a $90 video game with Tetris? I mean, that's always a question, right? But it's also, here's Nintendo, and Nintendo had, seized the market with the NES, and Sega had really, by 1990, Sega was still not firing on all cylinders because Sonic wasn't out yet. So the Genesis and the TurboGrafx 16, like the Genesis was doing better. TurboGrafx 16 probably would have done better too if, NEC in the United States had any fucking clue about how to market a system or ship it. And that's a disaster story if you want to look that up, because the PC Engine sold more copies of the Sega Genesis in Japan. Then so it was second place there. So there was room to improve, and that system came out in 1987. So like it didn't come out in the United States until 1989, and so it had 2 years to figure its shit out, and it didn't. And I can kind of talk about the TurboGrafx 16 here too, because I mean it's also a failed console. But one of the biggest reasons it took 2 years to get over here is because they wanted to spend like an additional 6 months or a year focusing on just the rubber molding for the back cover that didn't even need to exist. It's just a disaster. And if that thing is going to fail, yeah, your portable console isn't going to. The cost was insane. The life was low. I mean, that's another advertising, that's another marketing boon that the Game Boy had, was it could last 8 hours on 4 batteries. And then you have the system that lasts 2 hours on 6 batteries. So yeah,
Jesus.
That's why it's failing. And another cool thing, I don't know if you can do it with the Turbo Express. I know you can do it with the Game Gear, and they both have TV adapters, so you might be able to do this with the TurboExpress. Let's see if you have like an aux cable, and you have essentially an AV out. So if you take your HDMI, you plug it into one of those HDMI to AV out converters to make it component, and then you take your yellow cable, you plug it into that. If you have an aux cable that will transport video, you can technically play any system on these portable devices.
Oh,
Through an audio in aux cable on these TV adapters.
what the fuck?
You can't use it with the controllers themselves, but you have to use an external controller. But yeah, I mean, essentially, it's a mini CRT on the go.
I just love the idea that this is this thing packed with technology that lets you play console games on the go. Like, does all these things, and Nintendo's like, this plays Tetris. And everyone's like, yeah.
It's like when you get it's like when you get your kid a fancy new toy,
Yes.
and they just want to crawl in the box.
Jesus
Exactly
Christ.
what it's like. Oh man, nothing's cooler than a cardboard box though.
Nothing. We're all cats at the end of the day.
I can just imagine this fucking like somebody trying to do exactly what you described. Like they have this like octopus of like cords going all over their like house, going to their TV into this little thing, and like hey mom, I'm playing Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine on my Turbo Express. Mom, you never thought that day would come along, did you? Also, by the way, I like how the code name for the Turbo Express was the Game Tank, dude. That's awesome.
Oh, that is good.
I didn't even know that. Game Tank. It's tanky.
I didn't know if that was like if they meant like a water tank, like it could hold as many games as like a water tank, or like if it was like durable like an army tank. I don't know. Obviously, yeah, it's durable. I was just trying to make a stupid fucking joke. Game Tank. That's the name of the podcast now.
Or the Game Tank podcast. That would be a good name for a podcast. Dang, we messed up.
Yeah, we did. God damn it.
Oh
It's
man,
never too late.
That's true. We're almost 40 episodes in, but fuck it, let's change the name.
we're gonna rebrand everything. New thumbnails.
Oh god damn it.
Speaking of things that could have
Durable?
used a better name. Yes.
Oh.
Speaking of things that could have used a better name, I want to talk about just the fact that the Ouya existed at all. Because, imagine someone coming to you and being like, "We're gonna make a new video game console. We just need to crowdfund it." That's like an insane idea on its own, but they did it. They crowdfunded a video game console, and it came out, and people were able to. They got it shipped to them, and they could play it. That's nuts. The only people who make new consoles are like, Microsoft, Sony, Google had Stadia. It was just a group of people that were like, we want to make a new console, and it's going to do things, and it's going to have this controller. And it came out, and it wasn't any good at all, but just the fact that they were able to do that is insane to me.
That controller is just so fucking goofy looking.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Is it
doesn't
any
look like...
good?
No.
Okay.
No, nothing about the console itself is good. There was
just the flat. No.
There was something. I got to look it up. There was something really horrible about the controller. I don't remember what it was. So talk amongst yourselves.
The design of the console reminds me of a car cigarette lighter almost. It's pretty great.
The thing is, too, this was a big, it was a big media darling too. Like everyone was getting on the hype train.
I was on it.
Yeah, a lot of people were. I mean, I was always kind of skeptical, most because it was Kickstarter backed. I wanted to see how it did. I didn't totally understand the concept. It was also, I think, a digital only console, from what I remember.
Yep.
Like everything was supposed to be downloaded to the shop, which I wasn't big into digital gaming at that time either. So it's like, okay, we'll see how it goes. And then as soon as that thing came out, you couldn't, if it was a fart, you wouldn't even be able to smell or hear it. It just happened.
Yeah.
And then it just died.
Yep.
And it's amazing that it just kind of just turned into vaporware immediately.
Yeah. I realized what it was. So if you're looking at a picture of the Ouya controller, if you wanted to change the batteries, you had to take off the right and left face plates. that go around the buttons and the sticks.
Oh,
and there would be a
God.
battery in each handle that you'd have to replace.
Ew.
That reminds me of the Nokia N gauge.
Yeah.
The fucking taco. In order to change games in that thing, you had to take out the battery.
Yeah.
And then put the game in, and then
The
put the battery back in, and then turn it back on and wait for like 15 minutes for that piece of shit to boot up.
Disaster.
It had interesting ideas where it was like there's going to be the play section, the purchase section, and the game making section. They were like you can make your own games too, like just on the console, which is a neat idea that did not work very well.
They weren't wrong. They had the right idea for where the future of mobile gaming was headed. They
Yes.
were just they came in too early.
Yep.
And just they didn't understand it quite yet. Just primitive days of mobile gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's another thing where like today, if you were like, we're going to introduce a new console, it's going to run on Android, they'd be like, what? But back then it was like, oh, that could work. I could see that. Like
Well,
it was
what's the Nintendo
the whole
Switch?
thing was like, I could see that, and then they made it.
Isn't Nintendo Switch essentially that?
Yeah.
Is that all it played? Was just like games from the Android store or Play Store or whatever the fuck?
Yes, it had a few exclusives, like a handful of exclusives, but yeah, they were all phone games.
So you could just on a whim be like, hey, I want to play Angry Birds, but
Yes.
on the TV.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
You got it.
boy.
You got it. You nailed it. That's the console.
Awesome. I'm on board.
It has not worked out because every other indie console developer has attempted to do that. The Atari VCS, I think it was.
Yeah,
the
man.
first Android PC console thing. Essentially the Intellivision Amico, whatever the fuck happened to that
Yeah.
crap. That was supposed to be essentially the same thing, except they're like, oh, it's going to be exclusive, and everyone's like, no, you're not going to be able to do it. But that's what they keep trying to do because it's probably cheap, right?
Oh yeah.
Take an Android operating system, and you could essentially have an underpowered console, but you still have a ton of games that were compatible with that power because everyone, indie developers, especially for the mobile market, probably don't have a ton of cash to have a premium title game, so they're going to try and appeal to the lowest common denominator. So you're going to have a bevy of games, even on a somewhat older platform, I would imagine.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, it's appealing if you're willing to take a risk and understand that your console is going to be woefully out of date as soon as you put it on the market. Yeah.
Woefully.
That's why this is kind of moving in a different direction, but that's why the play date is so appealing to me. Do you guys know what the play date is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's got its own unique. It doesn't have games from other stores or whatever. It's just like we're gonna make a tiny little handheld console, and it's gonna have games you can only play on it. That's a good direction.
If you want to stay niche, I think
Yes.
they have to
Oh,
understand
it's
they're going to be
very
niche.
niche. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was essentially the concept of the Wii U too.
Mm-hmm.
Like these games will only work here on the Wii U, and everyone's like, "Yeah, okay, no." I love the Wii U, but that's the truth.
By the way, I like that the developer version of the Ouya is this clear white. Like I'm sold on that, dude. Give me that. I'll take that.
Worth it.
I just want more. It's on Wikipedia, the Ouya developer console. Why can't we just have more clear shit?
Yes.
Game makers, give me a
Yes.
fucking Xbox Series S. It's clear yellow. I want it, please.
Oh,
I
it needs
can't.
to be electric green like those old Game Boy Pockets.
I want the purple, the see-through purple. That's my
Yeah.
dream.
There
Oh
you
my
go.
god, I bought these I bought this pair of Skull Candy wireless earbuds. Only bought them because they were see-through green.
Nice.
It's like I have to own it if it's see-through, dude. There's just a part of my brain that's like, hey, you need it. If it's see-through, that's a good purchase, bud.
You need to get those little circle Mac mouses that we had in school.
Oh yes, the perfect
IMAX.
circles, dude.
Yeah. One
Oh,
clicker, baby.
How is this thing so? How are these so big in the '90s and then it just disappeared?
I don't know.
Like, transparent electronics was amazing. Then all of a
Yes.
sudden, like, no, you don't want that. You
They're
want
still
black
amazing.
or white. And that's
black
all you
or white,
need.
and that's it.
Oh, dude, and the Dreamcast. Oh, I guess that was 99 when it came out, but that thing had a lot of different. It was like cool Hello Kitty version that was like see-through pink. Damn it, I wish I had that. Damn.
Yeah, Sega did that with like all of their consoles. If you really look into it.
Did you see the special Diablo 4 edition of the Xbox Series X?
I'm gonna do it right now. Keep talking.
Yes. No, I want you to Google it and give me your reaction.
All right, I'm looking it up. 1 sec.
It's a Diablo Xbox.
Yep.
It just looks the same.
It's the same. There's nothing special.
What? What's the point, dude? Come on. I remember like with the at least with like the PS4, they had there was this bundle you could get with Star Wars Battlefront, I think, and they had like Darth Vader on the console, and that was cool.
Yeah.
Oh, the R2D2 Xbox 360.
Yeah. Oh, that shit was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another one again for the PS4 where I think it was like, yeah, it was one of the Batman games, but yeah, you had Batman on the console, and it was like a light gray, and that shit was cool. Do that.
Do it.
Why aren't we doing that?
Come on,
damn it.
Microsoft.
This is so off topic, but why don't we do that, dude?
Give me an Ouya themed Xbox.
Oh, give me an Xbox.
Faceplates. Bring back faceplates, damn it.
Oh shit! Whose turn is it?
It's yours, because I brought up the Ouya like a maniac.
Oh Jesus! Okay, well, I'll skip this other one because I have a feeling Chris is going to talk about it soon. I'm going to talk about the NeoGeo AES. By the way, should we do an ad break?
Yeah,
We're
let's
about
do an
halfway,
ad break.
right?
Let's.
Okay.
Everyone forget that Aaron said we were going to talk about that. Pretend you're surprised when we come back.
Yep, we'll be right back. Hey everybody! Do you need a quick protein-rich snack on the go? Whether you're on a car ride or you're a trucker or whatever. Hey, Rabbit Jerky is here. Jackrabbits taste pretty good when you smoke them. Yeah, Tommy.
I always see jackrabbits when I'm driving on the road, and I'm like, gosh, I wish I could eat them and consume their protein, and now I can.
Man, I wish I could smoke that rabbit and eat it.
It's the
Chris.
protein.
Yeah, I mean, you better get that Rabbit Jerky. Don't be a jack off. Get jacked up with Rabbit Jerky.
Oh, this guy's so good.
Damn, that's good. Holy shit.
Okay.
They come in 4 jacking off flavors. There's green hatch chili, ranch, original, and teriyaki.
Original, flavorless Jackrabbit Jerky.
Jackrabbit flavored, dude. Hey, yeah. Let's ask some of our satisfied customers. Yep, it's Jackrabbit, all right. It's tough and it tastes like the desert.
It jumps right off the tongue because it's a Jackrabbit Jerky. Thanks.
And for a very, very limited time, you buy one, it'll hump like bunnies, and you can get 10 for one low price.
Oh yes, and you'll get the Jackrabbit Smokinator 2 for free, so you can smoke your own rabbits.
And a Lucky Rabbit's Foot with the branded Jackrabbit Jerky Lucky Rabbit's Foot.
Holy
Comes
shit!
with a certificate of authenticity from the rabbit we killed to make the jerky.
And the logo is just a jackrabbit, but he's smoking a fat fucking blunt with an eye patch. He's got an eye patch. He has one eye.
He has one eye because we ate the other one and put it in your jerky.
Missing a foot too for the lucky foot.
Oh, yeah. He's basically a pirate smoking a fat.
He's a fucking.
Which means our next product will be jacked up, jacked off parrot to go with your jacked up, jack off, Jackrabbit Jerky.
Holy shit!
Thanks for sponsoring us.
Are we back?
We're back. We're back from that fever dream.
Oh, that was good.
Oh man. Okay, video games.
So yeah, my next one. There's another one, but that I feel like Chris is probably gonna end up talking about because he talked about it a second ago. I'm gonna go with the NeoGeo AES. I've never owned one because they're hellishly expensive. I never will. But it's just cool that in that day and age, you could basically have like arcade quality games in your home. If you owned a fucking yacht and made like $40,000 a year or month or whatever, I don't know, but
probably month.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, it's just cool.
It's a fighting stick. It came with a fighting stick,
and it's clicky.
Yep.
Whoa.
That's basically what SNK was known for, was their clicky sticks, because it just made fighting, or it made any game that used that stick so I guess so satisfying. You know, clicking to the left, clicking to the right.
Oh, it clicks every direction. Wow.
Clicking every day and every night.
This is the Tommy Google's consoles episode, because I've never heard of this one either.
That's really all it does. I thought it was cool that you basically get like a little arcade machine at home, because I mean, when the fuck did it came out? Yeah, okay. 91. It's cool that like what?
No, what's cool?
It's just cool that like in 91 you could have, if you had enough money, you could buy you could buy arcade games for your home, but I don't think anybody did back in those days, because they're even more expensive now than they were back then. They were $650 a console at launch in the 90s. Yeah.
I always forget that, and I think it's interesting that there was like a split between arcade gaming and home console gaming, where like home console gaming was behind. That's a weird thing to think about, because yeah, you know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
I remember just like a little bit of it. Yeah.
Well, the games too, they were like $250.
Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, these are only I guess you only owned this console, like I said, if you made like $40,000 a month, or I mean, not even that. It's just you had to have a lot of fucking money, because the console itself is stupid expensive, and then the games were stupid expensive. But yeah, now they're even, because so few people own them, they're just stupid expensive now, and yeah, I mean, it's just it was pretty powerful though for the time. 91, baby.
I can't imagine why it failed.
Yeah, beats me.
I wouldn't call it. I mean, it's niche. It didn't sell a lot. To
Yeah.
outright say it failed, though, for me that's difficult to say, because it came out, you said 91, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was supported until like 2001, 2002.
Are you serious? What?
Yeah, they're making new
Man,
games for it.
you're
Have you heard
Holy
of
shit.
Garou, Mark of the Wolves?
Fuck yeah, dude.
That game came out in the NeoGeo AES.
Oh shit! Like it didn't come to arcades first.
No, it came out to arcades first, but that was the entire concept. Is that you
Oh.
have your NeoGeo arcade machine, commonly referred to as the MVS, and that's only for the ones that
Yeah.
had like the multi carts. So you could put like 3 or 5 carts or 4, and you could select them. But what the innards of those arcades machines were the same as the AES. That's why it's so expensive. The AES was the arcade unit for your house. So
Oh yeah.
So when like every game that's in a NeoGeo arcade, there's probably a home version that's identical to the arcade, because it's the same machine essentially. So they continued to make games for the NeoGeo hardware in the arcade into the early 2000s. So yeah, there's an AES version of, think Capcom versus SNK2, or SNK versus, I think it's SNK versus Capcom something Chaos, which was in the NeoGeo arcades, and there's an actual AES version for that. And if you know kind of the chronological nature of things, I can't say the word chronology. I don't know. Chronology. There it is. Chronology. I'm smart. They didn't come out with SNK versus Capcom until 2000. So like they were still making new games for the AES and MVS for almost a decade later.
It says on this website called Wikipedia that technical support was still available until 2007. So they were still like supporting it technically. You know, that's nuts.
Yeah. So SNK's whole entire mantra behind the AES, from what I mean, because I haven't done a deep dive on it, just like from hearing about it in the periphery, was that it was a niche console. It was for rich people. It was essentially, they're like, hey, if you really like our games, we can do this, but it's going to be super expensive, and we'll market it to people who can afford it. And because they weren't really intending it to compete with the Genesis or the Super Nintendo. It was just like, I mean, if you want it, this is for the crazy fans out there who have more money than sense. So have at it.
It's interesting because I feel like if a person was like wanting to play arcade games at home and they have disposable income, I feel like people would more likely want to just purchase the arcade cabinet.
Yeah, but save space.
Absolutely. Oh, for sure. But
yeah, you can play it on your couch.
Man, what a weird world we live in.
The way that that SNK's cabinets worked, though, that was also pretty fucking sweet. The whole multi-cart things, instead of having to buy like one whole fucking cabinet that just had one game. Yeah, you could switch them out. That was cool.
Yeah.
Chris.
Oh, it's up to me now. Well, I think I have to deliver on some expectations here because it's already assumed we're going to be talking about one thing. And if people are coming over here, our community from the Retro Hangover podcast, if they're listening to this, they're just going to assume I'm going to talk about it. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to talk about the Wii U.
Yeah. Aaron would be on board with you.
I love my Wii U. I think it's fantastic. There's a litany of reasons of why this console failed. But the reason it's cool, and I know this is almost like modern history, so I don't think I'm going to be saying anything that anyone listening to this isn't going to already understand. But asynchronous gameplay. I think playing Nintendo Land is a blast. I think having a map on your gamepad and having the game on your TV screen is extraordinarily convenient and a really fun and efficient way and effective way to play video games. Yes, I understand that you can get almost the entire library of Wii U games somewhere else, just like you can with the Dreamcast. The difference is you can't play these games the same way you can play them on the Wii U, and they're more fun on the Wii U because of that. So the Wii U, fantastic. I know it's sold like dog shit. I know Nintendo screwed it up by calling it the Wii U and not really clarifying that it was different from the Wii instead of like an upgrade. But anyone who's owned it, like, this was my go-to console for years. I thought the software and the quality of games crushed the PS4 and Xbox One when it was out at the same time of it, because all you're getting from the PS4 and Xbox One were more boring, bland, open world games with gruff PTSD white dude with 5 o'clock shadow killing things, because that's all you were getting on the PS4 and Xbox One for like 3 or 4 years.
I don't mean to interrupt, but it's so funny you say that because I had the Nintendo Wii, and as throughout that whole thing, I was like, I wish I could be playing the video games with the gruff guys shooting things at the 5 o'clock shadow, and so I sold my Wii to get a PS3 for those experiences.
God, I agree though. I didn't buy a Wii U until much, I guess, later. I bought one maybe in like 2021, I think, secondhand, obviously. And yeah, I booted. I thought it's awesome. I like my only one gripe with it is that sometimes, when you're going from like, say, the home menu to settings or vice versa, those little loading screens, those can eat my ass, because sometimes it'll take like maybe like 10 seconds, and I don't have that kind of time. But
sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
I just want to say, when we talk about, like, everyone knows that the Wii U was a failure, and that's like, when you think of Wii U, you think of that stuff. But I want to say, when it first came out, there was a ton of hype around it, and like with Nintendo Land being what it was, everyone was at first was like, this is going to be great. There's going to be so many incredible experiences on this thing that you can't get anywhere else. And that's what they were going for, and that's definitely what they achieved with those first batch of games, but then it just didn't have any momentum at all.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't as powerful as the PS4. It wasn't as powerful as the Xbox One. The biggest thing is, like, when you're trying to compete with those companies, there people on there are playing Call of Duty, and that's why they're there. And the reason they're there is because their friends are there.
Yep. Yeah.
And no one was on the Wii. No one was in Nintendo to play Call of Duty. That's not what they were there for. No one was there to play Grand Theft Auto, because it didn't have Grand Theft Auto. So when you're talking about where you're going to go to play with your friends, and like Nintendo's like, oh, I have a cool system that's not as powerful as these other ones, but we have cool new ways to play games. People are like, nah, dude, I want to go frag my friends for the 10,000th time.
I had Call of Duty World at War on the Nintendo Wii, and one of my friends in my small town had it as well. Since there was no voice chat, we just had walkie-talkies in each of our house because we lived decently close together. That's how we played video games back in the day.
It's still how Nintendo wants you to play video games today.
Yeah, seriously.
Let's just make this a Wii U episode because I could talk all day about this thing.
Do it. What did you like about the Wii U?
Dude, so first off, like the little jingle when it starts up, like when the home menu starts up, and then the little ambient background music. Oh, I love it so much. I wish the Switch had anything resembling that. Because sometimes like with what the fuck? What am I trying to think of here? With like the GameCube or like the Dreamcast, like those are like I'll download the background music for those on YouTube Music, and I'll listen to those while I work. And that has nothing to do with the Switch, I guess. Just give the Switch some cool background music.
I have yet to play a Wii U. I've never touched a Wii U in my... No, that's wrong. I played one in a Best Buy. I played Splatoon in a Best Buy. I played the demo, and I was like...
so much fun.
I get it. Yeah, I was like, oh, this feels cool. I like this is really cool. And then I've tried playing Splatoon on the Switch, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't hit me like it did in that Best Buy.
Because like back then with the Wii U, it was new and fresh. But
yeah.
I still don't understand the entire obsession with the Switch. Just looking at the Wii U, and I think that's probably because I'm a little bit bitter because I was big into the Wii U. I still kind of am, but like, man, the Switch just feels like a more stuffy version.
Yes,
it just feels like it feels cheaper too. It just feels like everything just gets shoved on there without any love or care.
Yes,
like, oh,
yes. To me, the Wii U is like the Switch absolutely would not exist without the Wii U. Like the Wii U was almost like a test bed for what the Switch became. But to me, the Wii U has more of that Nintendo feel. It has more of that Nintendo love. Like this looks like a Nintendo console, where the Switch is like, this is a mobile platform, but it doesn't have that like. It's got an infrared camera in one of the Joy-Cons. Like that's not very Nintendo of you.
You know what the Switch kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of like modern Madden, where technically it should be better because it looks better, and they're telling you like it has a new and improved roster, new ways to play. But then when you fire it up, you're like, what the fuck happened to all the features?
Yeah,
like
no themes.
Yeah, but it's new Madden. You just want like what happened to trading players and building custom contracts in franchise mode? Oh, we didn't think you needed that, so we didn't include it. That's what the Switch feels like.
Yeah.
Like when it came out, like, where are my folders? What, you wanted folders? Who likes that?
Or just fun, bizarre things. I mean, it does have fun, bizarre things like the Labo stuff, but like the 3DS was like, we got a 3D camera in the back, and here's some cards that you can scan to do some things.
The 3DS had themes.
Themes.
I want themes on the Switch. God damn it! That's literally I've been asking for that.
Aaron, it's got a dark mode and a light mode. I don't know what more you want.
They've sold like 130 million Switches. They don't give a fuck about you and your themes.
They really don't, Aaron.
Just hear me throwing my.
Remember when they turned Bluetooth headphone capability on? They were like, "Oh yeah, we've had this the whole time. We'll turn it on for you."
Oh yeah, and the fucking.
Wanted that?
And the little blue LED around the home button, they still have not used that. Like, what the fuck is that for, Nintendo? Why is it here if you're not going to fucking use it? What's the deal?
And then they still, like, everyone just wants a better graphic. They want to Switch Pro. It's time. It's been time. And they're like, no, more games for Switch.
Like, here's an OLED screen. Fuck yourself.
Hey, look, if you want a new Switch, stop buying the current Switch.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's 100% the answer, and I don't see it happening.
Bring back Miiverse. Also, I liked Miiverse.
Oh, yeah,
Miiverse was
great.
Even that, like the Miis exist on the Switch, but it's not nearly in the same capacity. It almost feels like they don't belong there.
It's the personality. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're all good. I was just gonna say the Miis really only exist on the Switch to be used in like Mario Kart, and that's it, really.
It's just the Beamers, like you could get stickers, you can put stickers all over the place, and have little communities and talk about the game there. And it was like little forums, I guess you could say. I'm not a big Reddit guy, but from what I understand, it seems like a bunch of like little subreddits for every single game that's in the
it was. So I didn't do it a lot on the Wii U, but I did it a lot on the 3DS. and it was cool because, yeah, like you said, it would just be like little almost subreddits of different games, and people could they could draw pictures of like whatever from different games, or they could post screenshots, or just say, or just type something to be like, hey, I like Dragon Quest 8, and other people would give like a thumbs up, or they'd be like, hey, that's awesome, man, me too. And then the Wii U, I assume, was the same way because you could draw on the gamepad because the gamepad fucking rocks. It's got like everything in that little thing. But Miiverse was just so cool. But then they were like, no, we're just gonna just you can just send it to Facebook or Twitter, bro. That's fine. That's the same thing.
We don't want to deal with that.
I just want a Nintendo focused like social media thing. That's why Miiverse was so great. Like people weren't negative and bitchy like they were like I am in real life. Miiverse.
I know this is going to sound really stupid too, but they had these apps that would connect to your TV, that you could comment at the very beginning. And this might be a fever dream of mine, but you could comment on TV, live TV shows while you were watching them.
On the Wii U?
That's
on
cool.
The Wii U, yeah. Or like they had like sports apps where you could see like sports scores and stuff like that under your Wii U as you're watching TV. It also works as a TV remote. The gamepad does.
Fuck.
That's cool. This is wild.
And you can like program it to sync up with your cable to dial in the cable channels. I think I remember you could also look kind of like a TV guide with it if it was synced up well enough. I might be wrong on that one. But it did a lot of cool stuff with TV integration, which isn't as important anymore because no one has cable anymore for the most part. So but they were really cool features that I don't really think ever caught on. And I thought they were awesome. The other thing is like watching Netflix or Hulu or something like that is being able to swap between the screens and go from your big TV and then put it over on the gamepad seamlessly. And
was that,
I don't know,
refresh my memory, was that like a selling point right from the beginning? Or was that something that, okay. Because I remember not really realizing that it could do that until later when someone pointed it out. And they were like, hey, you could just play the game on the little screen. And I was like, oh, that's neat.
You couldn't have Netflix and a game up at the same time. That would have been cool.
Oh, yeah, that would have been.
But I mean, just the way that Netflix worked. I remember the way Netflix and like Hulu worked and all those streaming apps worked. And it was my favorite way to do it. Like the Wii U is my Netflix box for a very, very, very long time, just because the way it delivered it. Like it was far superior to what I was getting on my my PS4, PS3, and Xbox. And that was the place I would do that. It also had, I think you could especially do FaceTime with it when it came out too, because it has a camera on the gamepad.
Oh yeah.
Like another really cool thing too is that the Wii U worked native. Well, it was kind of a pain in the ass to hook them up, but it was basically natively. It worked with like your Wii accessories, like your Wiimotes and nunchucks and shit like that, and your Wii games. Granted, you had to like boot there was like a separate you had to click on like the Wii button to switch it into Wii mode, so it had ran like an emulation of the Wii home menu and shit like that. But other than that, I played them all just fine. And the Virtual Console was fucking nuts.
Virtual Console, it
had every fucking. It has just a bunch of TurboGrafx games. It had NeoGeo, of course NES, SNES, N64. It had DS games, which on the Wii U was mind blowing. Like that was perfect because you have the two screens, but I don't see how they're going to do that ever on the Switch because
it's too late. They're not going. They've set what they want to do. Like
unless you maybe turned it on its side and played it like that, but you have to have it in handheld mode. But sadly, I don't think we'll ever see DS Virtual Console games in any way. But the Virtual Console was just they had everything. They had such a good selection of games too because this was before they had a lot of different Capcom games and games from other publishers that are now doing they'll do the HD collections that you can buy physical and shit like that. This was kind of before that, so there was a lot of those games you could buy and play on your Wii U as opposed to buying a whole fucking collection for just one game. But that was awesome.
That was awesome.
The Wii is fantastic, everyone. It's amazing.
It is.
Speaking of companies understanding the vibe they wanted with their consoles, I believe that the PlayStation Portable is the coolest handheld. It is that thing at a time where the DS was the dominant handheld. Whenever I saw someone with the PSP, I was like, this is such a cool piece of technology. It's just got a heft to it. It's got like the sheen on the front and the buttons, and when you pop the game case thing open, it's like you get a peek inside the technology, and you're like, dang, look at all that technology in there. And just being able to play like Grand Theft Auto and all these other games. I eventually got one in school, and I felt like the coolest person in study hall when I just whip out my PSP before they said no video games allowed. Because for a time it was fine.
I have to ask, why do you consider it a failure?
See, I was hesitant about this because the Vita is definitely more of a failure than the PSP, but
absolutely.
I consider them in the same lineage, and I've never played a Vita, but it's kind of like it didn't sell as much as the DS, I suppose. It absolutely did sell. It sold fine enough for them to make another one, but it didn't set the world quite as on fire as I'm sure Sony wanted to, as much as the DS did. But it's so cool.
Yeah, I love my PSP. PSP.
Oh man, especially the model that has the you can output it to your TV. Like that's just such a genius idea. It's just so cool.
2000 and 3000, I think, both models. They have AV out. Yeah.
Yep. What?
No, you, Aaron.
Okay, I was just gonna say, and the fact that they I forget what the fuck the shop was called. I guess it was just a PlayStation store, but they had a lot of different PS1 games that you could buy on there. And oh my gosh, dude, you could play Wild Arms and fucking Legend of Dragoon and like almost every Final Fantasy and shit, just like right there on the PSP, like in your pocket whenever you wanted. It's so good.
And if you bought them on your PSP or if you bought them on your PS3, they cross-bought.
Yep.
So if you got your PS1 Classic on your PS3, you could download it on your PSP. Which you didn't need to buy it, which is something that Nintendo doesn't fucking understand yet. It's something that Sony forgot.
It is something Sony forgot. Oh man, I did that with Crash Bandicoot. It had a music player. It had you could watch movies on it.
Themes.
It had themes. I set my background to SpongeBob and Patrick.
UMD movies.
Yep.
It had like a bunch of internet settings that I didn't understand. It was like, do you want ad hoc mode or do you want other thing? I'm like, I have no freaking idea. I'm just gonna pick one of these till it works.
And it had a built-in internet browser too, didn't it?
Yeah, you bet it did. You could browse the internet.
That's cool. I remember. Oh man. Okay, so the one I have now, I bought off of the Facebook Marketplace. I remember when I took it home, and I was just going through it, deleting stuff. There was so many porn sites in the history, dude. So much porn.
The best way to browse porn, the PSP, or you're not going to use a DS for that.
Why would I use my mobile phone, dude?
You can use your DS for that.
You can.
Yeah. But... You could use the 3DS for it, too, if you wanted.
With your Opera browser.
Opera.
Oh, man. I just love I still got my PSP, and I got Daxter in there right now, and it still looks good. It still plays surprisingly good.
Oh yeah. The last failed console I have, if you want to even call it a failed console, I guess it's more of an add-on maybe, but the N64 DD.
The double decker.
It was a cool idea on paper, bigger carts, more memory, more shit. There's a built-in clock and like the cool UI and shit like that. Mm-hmm. It was a cool idea at the time because like the N64 was just like, it seemed like a child's toy compared to the PS1 and the Saturn.
Absolutely.
Like it had Banjo-Kazooie and that's cool, but like what else do it do? But the N64 DD, like it almost could have been so cool. Cause like I'll bitch about Earthbound 64 until the day I die, because like it could have been so cool, and it could have been so great. But I mean, what can you do? It was a dumb. I guess they implemented it kind of stupidly, but whatever. N64 DD.
R.I.P.
Rip.
Yeah, it did come out in Japan at least, and apparently there's some good Mario Paint games. So, and Doshin the Giant.
Oh yeah, that's right. Doshin the Giant.
And a canceled Mother 3 game.
Yep, that's the one that I was just bitching about. Damn it.
Yeah. Oh, cool. You can still go to the original website via the archive.org, so you can see the old. That's fun.
The yeah, it could have been cool, but I mean, whatever. Damn it, Nintendo.
I mean, if you're going to get it, because I mean, it does exist. If you're going to get it, you have to get it for F-Zero though, so you can custom make tracks.
Yes.
And,
oh.
yeah. The expansion for F-Zero X is the reason to own a 64 DD. Other than that, I don't think there's really a reason to own it. It had some potential, but I just think it would have eaten itself alive. Just because I think by the time they had announced it, people were done with add-ons thanks to Sega, and
yeah,
like who would have bought it if it did come out? Because you're still kind of fracturing the market, even if they came out with the new Zelda. You know, which they're talking about.
That, and it came out super late in the N64 lifetime too. It came out in Japan at least in 1999, so it would have come out in the US possibly in like 2000 or some shit. So it was like it was right on the verge of the GameCube coming out almost. I guess the GameCube came out in like what, 2003?
2001.
2001. Oh yeah, it was really close. There's no point.
Yeah, and when you see Capcom putting the entirety of Resident Evil 2 on one cart, I don't think you need the DD at that point, because you have developers that have really learned how to compress video and audio. You're not going to get the same quality that you're going to get from a PS1, but you're still going to get the entirety of the experience, which is all that N64 owners really wanted. So yeah, I mean, you could do some readable, writable stuff and more expansive things that you could do with the console. But at the end of the day, I think it really, at least for the Japanese audience that bought like 6 games or something like that, it's 10 games. To the extent of what it was just like a creative hardware for creative software.
Yeah,
where you could create media or just additional things that for expansions to games as opposed to new games in and of themselves. But we'll never know. I don't think it would have been successful if they had released Mother 3 on that system.
I'm reading the 1998 page, and it says, the Nintendo 64 disk drive can be used for future upgrades of games by providing new levels or characters. It's DLC, everyone.
It's way more expensive DLC.
Yeah, and I just want to read this sentence, because is that okay if I just read a sentence from a website?
I don't see why it's not.
This is under physical appearance. The Nintendo 64 disk drive's many ruggedized features include a locking bay drive door that will not open unless 2 small rails on the Nintendo 64 disc are inserted into it. This will keep little fingers and cookies out of the Nintendo 64 disk drive.
Yeah. Why does anyone give a shit? Like, this is why. How does Nintendo become as successful as they are with terrible marketing like this?
No.
I don't. Hey, everyone, buy our system. You can't put a fucking cookie in it.
No cookies are getting in this system. We've got the ruggedized features like a locking bay door drive.
Limp Bizkit's very upset at it because it can't take that cookie and stick it up your
What a sentence. I love it.
What the fuck? Nintendo. This is why, like, no one bought your shit until the Wii. And even then, people just wanted to fucking give it to Grandma so that she could play bowling.
Grandma loved the Nintendo Wii.
Grandma loved it.
Man,
but then, we saw, their marketing is fucking terrible, man.
It
now
is.
They have Reggie Fils-Aimé is gone.
Yeah, I miss Reggie.
Yeah, I mean, he was there during most of that shit, but
still. Oh man, what was your last one, Mister? Well, if you had more, just pick one more.
You know what? I'm going to go completely niche here, and I am going to talk about the WonderSwan Color.
Yes.
So, I got a WonderSwan Color way back. Me and my dad went to Japan. I think this was in 2000, and I might be wrong in the day. I think it was in 2000. I think I also got a GBA while I was there before it came out in the United States. I got with F-Zero, but I got a WonderSwan Color, and I got it with Final Fantasy, because that's when Nintendo and Square were still on the outs and they hated each other. Well, mostly, yeah. Square said they were going to play with Sony, and Nintendo told them to go pack sand, so they packed a lot of sand and made a lot of money. But they remade the original Final Fantasy for portable systems. They remade it for the WonderSwan Color, and that was the first remake of Final Fantasy, other than I think the Final Fantasy Origin for the PS1. I don't know which one came out first, But yeah, I mean, here is the original Final Fantasy portable. Looked really good on a screen that was really good looking, and it was competitive with the Game Boy Advance. It only took, well, I mean, in terms of quality, not in terms of sales. The Game Boy Advance completely killed it. But you look at like what it has on it. So it has one battery that lasts for like 15 to 20 hours. Just one AA battery.
Wow.
It looks weird because it has 2 D-pads on the left side with an A and B button on the right-hand side. And the reason that it's designed like that is because if you have a shmup, it's designed to put it into tate mode for a vertical shmup.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. Designed by Gunpei Yokoi, who, as many people may know, also designed the original Game Boy, also designed the Virtual Boy, but let's not talk about that one. And it's a really cool, compact, tiny system. And if you look at the amount of games that came out for it in Japan, you'd be, I think, relatively shocked. Square supported it quite a bit. There's a Saga game. I think a couple of the Saga games were remade for it. Romancing Saga. I think Front Mission came out for the WonderSwan over there. You have some fighting games. I think there's a version of Guilty Gear. You have some versions of Klonoa. I think Mega Man and Bass, Rockman and Forte came out for it. I might be mistaken on that one. I think maybe. There's a whole host of games that came out for it in Japan. A bunch of Inuyasha RPGs. A lot of RPGs actually came out for it, but it couldn't compete against the Game Boy Advance. Bandai made it, so them bringing out in North America, I don't think ever would have really made a lot of sense. Sold a couple million units over there in Japan, though, but it never left the region. And so that's why I consider it a failure, because no one played it.
Absolutely.
I have a copy of Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 4 for it here, and they play really well. I mean, the sound chip sounds like shit, but I mean, what are you going to do? Other cool features about it is that it could connect to the internet through something called like the connect to the cell phone. So it would plug into the system through a side auxiliary jack and plug into your cell phone. You can upload stuff. And also had commercial development kits, so people could make their own games for the system. And that's actually one of the most expensive games. Is called Judgment Silver Sword, which I think is a tribute to Radiant Silvergun. Again, this is just figuring out, just putting everything together. But really good shmup that was fan made, that came out on the WonderSwan Color towards the end of its life. So a lot of cool things going on with the WonderSwan. It was just made by Bandai, who wasn't publishing software anywhere else, and just came out the wrong time when the Game Boy Advance just kind of took the world by storm.
I'm surprised at how small it actually is. When you just see pictures of the system itself, my brain automatically like thinks iPad size because it's kind of thin. But then I see it in someone's hand and I'm like, oh snap, that's like Game Boy size. That's tiny.
Oh yeah. Game cartridges look really cool too. They look
terrifying. Seeing all the metal whatever they're called just dangling out of the bottom, I don't like that.
Well, they came in like protective shells.
So. Oh, okay. Maybe it's just me looking at them wrong.
No, you're looking at it right, because if you don't have them, protected well, I can understand why you'd be terrified. The boxes are really cool, though. I love them.
I see what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
What a neat little thing. There's so many systems that just got forgotten so quickly afterwards that like I'm always surprised at how many consoles I just don't know about, which is nuts because I played games my whole life.
Oh man, they have Hunter x Hunter games on the WonderSwan. Shit.
Oh yeah, a lot of anime games. Bandai made that shit, dude. So like they're putting all their IPs on that thing.
I see a Digimon game.
To be competitive.
Oh shit.
I see a Digimon game, Aaron.
Oh, I gotta buy one of these.
They really went up in price. They used to be super cheap.
This
I'm
one
kind of upset because they had special editions for Final Fantasy 1 and 2 that came out. I never got on them. They used to be like $50. Now they're like $200. It's like, fuck me.
I don't want to say this out loud. Well, no, this isn't going to air for a week, so you'll have a week, Aaron. I see one that is clear green, see-through green, for $35 on eBay. Plus $20 shipping.
Is it a WonderSwan or a WonderSwan Color?
WonderSwan clear crystal green console system tested work, but I can't see the rest.
because there was the reason it's called WonderSwan Color.
This one I don't believe is color.
Yeah, there's the version before that was only black and white. Much like the NeoGeo Pocket Color, there was the NeoGeo Pocket that didn't leave Japan and only plays games in black and white.
One battery. That's nuts. One battery. Wow.
One battery. It lasts 15 to 20 hours.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Well, I guess it is. I guess it isn't backlit. So
No,
that's still
that
cool,
is a
though.
downside. But neither was the Game Boy Advance when it came out.
That's cool.
Oh, I see the green one. Oh, delightful.
It's delightful.
Herbert Melon. That's the name of the color. Oh, I love.
Oh man, that was that's good. That's good. Anyone else have any last things they want to throw out there?
I apologize for dipping out. Fuck. We were supposed to go to Cheyenne's grandma's for Easter. And then she said she didn't want to go. And then she was like, while we were recording, she was like, "No, wait, I do want to go." And then this person bought some DVDs from us because we don't use DVDs because, I mean, it's 2023. And I couldn't find the boxes. And I apologize for
Just
that. But
throw
I'll
the
cut
discs
that out.
at them.
Like Ninja Stars.
Oh man, so that's it. Every other failed console.
Wait, what about Chris?
He did.
What about Chris?
He's talking about the WonderSwan.
Yeah, WonderSwan.
Oh, I meant like, no, I thought you were asking about like last remarks or last words. Never mind.
Yeah,
Never mind.
if anyone had anything that we didn't talk about yet.
I'm sure there's more, but
Yeah.
we got plenty in there, so that's good.
Yeah.
But if we didn't talk to him then that means that they didn't have anything good. That's how this podcast works.
Suck.
Yes.
They are awful. And if you see one, you just need to pee on it, or or make sure it's really clean, especially if it's in good condition, and send it to me.
Or smoke it and eat it. Just like Rabbit Jerky,
Stop.
everybody.
We can't go back to
Trademark.
Make it a sandwich with some Jack Rabbit Jerky right in between it, and eat it between two consoles.
Yes, dude.
So,
tasty.
Oh man. Thank you, Chris, for being on this show. Where can people find you and your podcast to listen to you talking about retro games?
Well, thanks for having me on once again. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to find more of me and the Retro Hangover podcast, you can head over to Linktree/Retro Hangover, which is linktr.ee/Retro Hangover. And you can pretty much find wherever we are on the internet, because we are all over that social media, whatever that is worth. I can't even tell you where the best place to find us is at. I heard on your last episode you're saying like no one's on Facebook anymore. Yeah, that's pretty much abandoned for us too. So if you head over to like Twitter, Instagram, we are there. And we'd appreciate it. Also, we're coming out with a new series on April 18th called The King of Games 1992.
Ooh.
And that's available to all of our patrons, but it's coming to our main feed on April 18th. So stay tuned for that. And word of warning, if you do listen to our podcast, I get quite loud within the first couple minutes. So I'm sorry for blowing open your eardrums, but you've been warned.
Do you start each episode with the 2 minutes hate? 1984 reference, everyone. I'm referencing a book.
We put all the games through struggle sessions, and that's what we do. And we just shame them. No, I say Dick Dragon very loud.
Nice.
Yes.
Aaron, I forgot to ask about our socials earlier. Do you want to do that now, and then we just edit it in?
Yeah, we can just leave it. Alone.
Okay, let's leave it. Where can people find us, Aaron?
People can find us. Yeah, just open up whatever browser you have, the one you use to go on the dark web or whatever.
Your PSP.
Your PSP. Clear history. Leave that porn site. We're going to superpodsaga.com. You won't find it. You won't find any cool porn there. Nope, it's all podcast. Sorry. It's all Aaron and Tommy all the time. Yeah, you can find all of our socials there. Our Twitter is our main one. I apologize, I don't use Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, but we're all caught up on YouTube finally. You can join our Discord. You can find our Patreon on the donations tab, which, holy shit, I put a huge JPEG of a person dropping a quarter into a donation jar. I didn't realize it was that big. I apologize. But also a quick shout out to our patrons. Novel Console. Chris was on our episode about our favorite remasters, remakes, and reboots. He's awesome. He was funny. And also my good buddy Jared. He was in our episode about our games we want remastered. He's a good friend of mine. He's awesome as well, too.
That's right. We have 2 patrons. We have doubled our patrons since last time. We are rolling in money.
That's right. Scrooge McDuck in that shit, you might say.
Oh man. Okay. What are we gonna talk about next week, Aaron?
I've stewed it over a bunch. Let's go with our favorite video game cover art.
There we go. Ooh, that's a good one.
There we go.
That's a good. Oh, okay. Okay. Yes. My brain's rattling around right now. I got to write things down.
Okay.
Look forward to that, people. Thank you again, Chris, for being here. Check out his podcast, and thank you for listening to our podcast. And you should listen to the next one. Okay. Bye.
Bye.